I appreciate Mr. Ramos, and hopefully if for some reason that we don't want to save this money, that we do put this in a study. But there was concerns like they were mentioned before about possibly, maybe not capable or anything like that of passing the test of a Supreme Court or anything else like that. But there was a Michigan in the 6th Court of Appeals that was came out in December 03 ruling, because Michigan was testing for drug testing for receiving. I've got it right here in front of me. Sorry. Public assistance money, and the ACLU took him to court, and the 6th Court of Michigan Appeals did come back and say that it was not constitutional. Now they did say that, but instead of going on to the Supreme Court, the ACLU in the state of Michigan came up with the agreement that they could go on and
gentlemen, you for a question.
Just 1 second, I will. That they could go on and make an agreement on it. So they decided, Michigan decided they weren't going to test anymore, and ACLU decided they were not going to go on to the Supreme Court. Basically, what this means is that to date the policies, it basically means that it did not rule that it was not unconstitutional. Yes, I'll
Mr. Speaker.
The gentleman yields, Mr. Dunham.
Yes, I yield for a question.
How many Americans lost their job last month, Mr. Legler?
Oh, I don't know about Americans. I'm looking at the Texas figure.
Well, how many Americans? I care about America too.
Well, I do too, but I don't know. I don't have. How many
in Texas lost their jobs last month?
Last month, I had the figures through March 2008.
And what are the figures through March? How many Texans have lost their jobs since December?
1 second here.
I know you don't care, but
I disagree with you on that.
630,000 Americans lost their job last month. I know you don't care about that.
Yeah, I did not say that. You're wrong.
630,000 lost their jobs. How many have lost their jobs in Texas since December?
I don't know how many from December. I know what the March figures are.
Well, what's the March figure?
March figures are. Oh, I'm sorry. It's in the LBB.
It's right about
1.1 million.
How about 1.1
million?
1.1 million Texans lost their jobs.
Well, not since December. March? That's the March of the figures they had on unemployment claims, I believe.
1.1 million Texans on unemployment. How many of those people lost their jobs because they were using drugs in the workplace?
That I don't know.
How about zero?
Oh, how can you come with that figure?
Because you can't.
I disagree with that figure. I'm sorry.
You disagree with that figure?
Yes.
You cannot get unemployment if you lose your job for cause. And if you are using drugs in the workplace and you lose your job because you are using drugs in the workplace, you can't get on unemployment.
That's correct, because I'm an employer.
So tell us again, of the 1.1 million Texans that are on unemployment who have lost their job through no fault of their own, how many of them lost their job because they were using drugs?
Again, it's not about loss of jobs, because they can go and apply for another job and working on the job, and they still been in drugs,
Let's talk about why they lost their jobs, because I know if I take drugs and I get arrested and I go to jail or I get put on probation, I know why I'm taking a drug test. I'm taking a drug test because I was caught using drugs, right? So we have 1.1 million Texans. None of them lost their job because they were using drugs in the workplace. Do you agree with that?
You're talking about a different subject here, because I'm talking about receiving unemployment benefits. I'm not talking about losing their job. I'm talking about receiving unemployment benefits, and the savings is going to be made off of it.
You're saying to 1.1 million Texans, none of whom have lost their job because of anything having to do with drugs, that they've got to not only go in.
It's not 1.1 million people total.
That's what you said. How many is it then?
It's a total amount that was on the...
Do you have any idea what you're doing to
yes,
families? To families, a man and a woman that has to go home to his kids and say, you know what, I got laid off. I've had this job for 30 years, and I got laid off because they shut down the plant.
Yes, I understand.
I want a job. I've worked my whole life.
And that's what this bill protects. Those people right there protects those people, the hard-working Texans.
You know what, son? I don't want to protect the ones that are not able to work. I got to go pee in a cup. I got to go pee in a cup, even though drugs had nothing to do with me getting discharged.
Not necessarily pee in the cup. There's other ways to test for drug testing.
Okay, I got to give blood.
Or you take a hair sample.
They're going to take a hair sample from me. And why would they want to take a hair sample?
To make sure you're eligible to work.
Why would you do a hair sample instead of a urinalysis?
Well, it's less invasive, I believe.
It's
I
also
don't know.
basic.
I'm not telling them how to do their job.
I'll tell you why you want to do a hair sample. You want to do a hair sample because the UA will not pick up methamphetamine or cocaine after a certain amount of time, and so you do a UA so you can see if they've been using cocaine for the last several months.
Well, that's it. That's good.
I would think that before you got up here and said that at 1.1 million Texans have to take a drug test, you would at least know why they have to take a drug test and what for.
To be eligible for work.
To be eligible to go to work.
Yeah, that's exactly what the
Isn't
unemployment
that what
insurance
some
says.
employers do? They give you a drug test before they hire you?
Some do, and if they fail that one, then they must inform the unemployment insurance that they failed.
So, it's unbelievable. 1.1 million people. You want a drug test, not one of them lost their job.
There won't be that many because we won't start this until later. I don't know how many it's going to be. I can't say that. I'm saying it wasn't effective.
Well, good for those that don't get tested until then. Hopefully they'll have a job by then. But
majority will not have no
why should
problem.
someone who has lost their job for 20 years through no fault of their own, all of a sudden they got to explain to their kids and their loved ones, oh, now and not to add insult to injury. Not only have I lost my job through no fault of my own, but I got to now go pee in a cup.
Well,
let them pull my hair.
whatever it is.
Let them pull my hair because they think that I might be doing methamphetamine 2 months ago or doing cocaine 2 months ago. Give me a break.
Mr. Speaker, will the gentleman yield?
Will you yield?
Yes, I yield.
He yields, Mr. Gattis.
Mr. Legler, let's get this back on point.
Thank you.
The issue that you brought up is just to make sure that we're not paying for people sitting at home doing drugs while they're collecting UI insurance.
That's correct.
And the estimate, I mean, let's talk, you can talk all about, what we're making people do, but the estimate is over a 5-year period of time, we're going to save $300 million if we implement this policy.
That is absolutely correct.
So the estimate is that we are doing that today.
Correct.
We are paying people to sit at home and smoke dope.
Exactly. Or they're playing, or as they did to me, they come to my business, and when they used to come to apply for a job, I looked at hiring them, and they were sent them for drug tests, and they failed, and they kept collecting unemployment insurance.
Okay, and so they can come to you and say, look, I really, really want to work, and I'm really, really willing to take a drug test because I know I'm going to fail it, you're not going to hire me, and then I can go get unemployment insurance.
Correct.
You got a good amendment.